is up and welcome back to the garage. This week we are going to be working on something really fun and very much needed for the mega cab. What we need to do is figure out a way to get in and out without having to jump, which we have figured out. It is over here. We've got the amp power steps this week we're going to be putting on. I'm again, putting on the power steps on the Ram 2500 2021 mega cab. Kind of walking you through pretty much most of the process, skipping through some of the more obvious stuff, and then maybe highlighting some of the things that aren't quite as obvious, where the harnesses plug in and all of that. Alright, I thought I'd do a quick run through of the parts that came in all the different boxes here. You've got the wiring harness. It's pretty straightforward. We'll get that out and run through that once we've got everything installed on the truck in terms of the steps and the linkages. We've got the linkages here for, I think this is driver or passenger, I'm not sure which, but one's motor, one's sort of the glide linkage, and this is the other side there. Here are the actual steps. If you have a regular cab, or I can't remember what Ram calls it, but it's essentially the extended, and if you're a Chevy, you have to cut these down. Get a typical sort of miter saw like this with a aluminum cutting blade like this, and you can run a saw right through these in a matter of minutes. It's a real easy, quick chop. It's just like cutting wood. And then you can remove these end caps before you do that cut, and then cut it to size, put the end caps back on, and you'll be right where you need to be. If you've got a crew cab or a mega cab, since I got the mega cab, you don't have to do anything. Skip that step. Come up over here, take a look at the rest of this. It will have you end up drilling into part of the metal structure to secure this plate, this back support plate for the riv nuts. We'll go through that next out on the truck tomorrow, because it's evening now. Once we get going, I've already done one on the truck when it was light. I'll film the rest of these and walk you guys through all that and see how it looks. But they are kind of necessary. The rivet will hold it securely in place as you then get these rivet nuts, or riv nuts as they call them, secured into position. And these riv nuts are what's going to be holding the linkages, to the truck. So you've got an assortment of zip ties, some riv nuts. If you have a 1500, this goes on your 1500. I don't have a 1500, so we're just going to chuck that. Your various bolts. These are the inserts you'll use in place of your, I think it's like a crash reinforcement thing. They have like a crash bracket. If it doesn't come with that, mine does not come with a crash bracket, you'll need to use these and again rivet them in place, and then I think you may bolt them. I'm not sure yet, I haven't read that far ahead. The other tool you'll need to get is a riveter gun. I picked this up for this entire kit with 4 different sizes. I picked this up for 18 bucks on Amazon. So that worked great earlier. I'll show you how that works tomorrow for the others. You'll need to get a bucket of soapy water, small thing, soapy water, to coat the threads of this guy. That will be used to, squash these riv nuts into place. So I will pick up tomorrow morning with you guys for the rest of the install. Alright guys, we are underneath the truck here on the driver's side in the back, and what we'll have to do first is put the plate here in place. We'll need to drill a hole for it for the pop rivet to go through. Now there's a little flange here. You can orient it so the flange hangs on the inside, but your hole will be a little high if you do that. This thing is taped, like angled down, so it'll lift this up. So you got to angle it or face it this way. But then to line it up to ensure that you have this lined up correctly, place the riv nuts into the holes before you drill it, and line that up. Now you know it's in the exact spot for this hole to be drilled. And before you drill it, to make life even easier, I found that getting some duct tape on here to temporarily anchor this in position while you drill it makes for a much faster, worry-free job here. So put a piece on both sides, like so, and then we'll drill it. Now my drill is far too large to fit between this, between the body and this frame rail. So I'm going to be using my ratchet spanner, and it takes a little bit longer, but it does get the job done. So go ahead and get this drilled. There is a, double check your position. The hole is here. It requires a 1/8 drill bit. I'm using titanium coated bits. They last a lot longer on stuff like steel. So go ahead and get this drilled. Alright, that's the hole drilled, so a little bit of effort, but not too bad. Now you can take your duct tape off. You'll notice I've also got the a string here tied to this backing plate, which is your fail-safe. If you were to accidentally let go and drop this inside of here, it would allow you to fish it out. But it's supposed to sit in there like so. Now, you are required to use this plate. My first thought when I saw this in the instructions was, what is this for? Not only does it stiffen this up behind here, so you can hang the supports for the step off of this without this deforming. It also adds thickness for the riv nuts to clamp to. So yes, it is necessary, but it is not that difficult. So once we're done with that, the instructions say to take some paint and paint this to prevent rust from forming. I don't live in a very sort of snowy or salty road area, being in California, so I'm just going to use some dielectric grease. It will prevent corrosion. It won't be as permanent as paint, but I'm not too concerned about that happening or being an issue, especially once the rivet's on there. It'll seal it up pretty good. So go ahead and get this placed in here now. Slide this back. There we go. Now you want to get your riv nuts in position once again to ensure you're lined up. Now the next step is a bit tough in getting the pop rivet through that hole we just drilled, while ensuring the plate stays where it's supposed to be. Okay, once the riv nuts are sort of through the body, through the plate that we've got in here, you'll just want to place the pop rivet in. This is the rivet gun that I purchased on Amazon for 18 bucks. That's pretty much it. Make sure you have the correct size head. And go ahead and place the rivet inside the gun here. Plate in position and just start to squeeze on the rivet gun. And this will secure the rivet in place. So, there we go. That's the rivet in place. Bring you guys up close to this now. Okay, there we go. That is the rivet in place. We've got the plate here, the two riv nuts, and the pop rivet holding the plate together. Okay, the next step will be to lock these rib nuts into position. I'm using my ratchet spanner and this sort of die, this bolt die if you will. What we'll be doing is screwing this in here like so. Get it farther in. Okay. And then using this crescent wrench here to hold this spacer in position while we really torque down on the rib nuts. And the instructions say 110 inch-pounds, which I believe is about 10 foot-pounds. This goes up to 40, and it seems to take quite a lot to get these to deform, so go ahead and get going on this. Shake to check. There we go. That's locked good and tight. Do it here. So that's not going anywhere. And now you can take the string off this. Okay. Last step will be to push this tab back out of the way into this area here using a screwdriver body, and you want to kind of, as best you can, just use a screwdriver and push it back in there. There we go. Now the last thing I want to do, which it doesn't tell you to do, is cover this hole back up here. I'm just putting some more duct tape back on it like it came from the factory, just to keep some water and debris out of this guy. So that's this side done. That's this one done. We'll finish up with the other two on the other side. And once I got those done, pick back up with installing the linkages. Back here I've got the passenger side in the back, so the rear passenger side in view here. And what I've done is I've threaded one of the bolts there. And you're supposed to pre-thread the rear, is just one of them, the front rear. The the front mounting location, I don't know if it'll focus there. That one you can thread both. In the back here, focus there. In the back you're only meant to thread one. Now let me grab the idler linkage. Has 3 holes. This one in the front we don't use. We're going to use the middle one and the one in the back. So what you want to do is, like we've done here, pre-thread that one, and you're gonna have to play around with how far out it sticks. If it sticks out too much, it won't slide on. If it sticks out not enough, obviously you won't have enough room. So you'll slide this in there like that, and then you have room now to put that bolt in place. So I'm going to go ahead and put this bolt in now and snug down both. The not tighten it, just kind of snug it down loosely so we can ensure we're in the right spot with the board. One thing I want to note before I do that though is this bolt, there's like no room to get in there, so you'll need like a small crescent wrench, but a socket will not fit. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done and then meet you up at the front. Alright guys, we're up at the front now on the passenger side. This one, unlike the drive side, you can, or unlike the back rather, you can thread both bolts in. I'm not a huge fan of threading them in first, just because the way these are designed, there's like no room to get your ratchet spanner in there, so you gotta sit there with a tiny little wrench and hand crank on it forever. It's a total pain in the butt and it takes forever, but you will get it done eventually. If you have, I recommend a really thin wrench. But again, this will slide on above and down. There we go. So it's sitting on top of 2 threaded bolts. What you got to do now is tighten those up. Instructions say to first snug them gently, then put the boards on, test fit the boards, and then tighten everything. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll duplicate everything on the other side, and then once the boards are on, we'll snug everything up, and then I'll do everything on the other side, and then meet back with you here after that.
Okay guys, we are back after a short detour to Home Depot, using the smaller cell phone camera now because I don't have a whole lot of room under here. I had to go to Home Depot and get a couple of tools, a 3/16 Allen key because I only have metric, as well as this guy. It is a size 13, but most importantly, very thin wrench. So it will allow you, I mean, if you don't have it, you probably could get this job done if you used a wrench. I mean, a pair of pliers like Neil knows, but it just takes forever. But this size 13 will allow you to get up in here. Most wrenches will not fit in this teeny little gap that they give you. Definitely recommend picking up a, real thin little wrench at Home Depot. Not too expensive, and you'll get the job done.
We have the linkages securely fastened now on both sides, all 4, and we're ready to put the steps on. So, okay, to attach the board, use these the Allen bolts and the Allen key, which we had to go get from Home Depot. Again, keeping a soft platform under the other side just in case it falls, since we don't have 2 people. Just kind of wiggle under and attach these guys. Okay, and on the other side. Okay, once you got this the bolts sort of placed gently, you're going to go ahead and walk back and forth, bounce as it says, but don't jump. So I'll go ahead and do that. And the reason for doing that is when we go to fold this up, right now we have an issue where the cap here on the end is hitting the pinch weld, so it will take some sort of finessing in terms of where this board is mounted, whether it needs to go farther forward or be brought back, is in position to close behind the pinch weld. And once you get it there, you're pretty much board mounted. You can move on to the other board and the wiring harness.
Alright guys, before we get too much farther along, I wanted to show you what I've done up here. I haven't been able to film all of it just because it needs like 3 hands, and I've only got 2. This is a big fat wire going to the battery. I've strapped it to that. I think that's what the instructions tell you to do, not 100% on that. I've got the positive terminal going here, and then obviously negative to the body ground, and then taking the fuse out of there. There seems to be a rubber boot, which, let's see if I can get a shot here of. There it is. So you can see the factory hose coming out of the boot, which looks really sort of like it's supposed to be there. And then the smaller black, let me get my finger there. It runs to the side of the factory hose. Going through, that comes out just above the brake pedal in the cab, and that's got the 2 wires I need to connect everything in the OBD2 port and such. So that was right there. And then basically now I just have to run this harness below the frame, connect it to the motor, and get the lights ready. And then this other harness below the frame, connect it to the motors, and get the lights ready. Let me show you in the cab what it looks like. So I just used a drill bit to poke through that rubber grommet, and to be honest, I had to get my wife out here. My hands were way too big to feed this through from the engine side. We stuck one of the leftover bits of wire rivet through with the cable, help poke through really nicely there. And gonna go ahead and feed this up above once we get the trim pulled off. But I'm gonna go ahead and connect the harness to the motors underneath and get that done first. Pulled out of the garage, I've got the wiring harness connected to the motor, which is now bolted to the steps. That's all pretty straightforward wrench work. I figured I'd bring you in here where the instructions start to fall apart and are pretty terrible. So last left off, we've got the end of these guys sitting here now. And you really don't even need the instructions, much more than just a quick reference. Here's obviously the OBD2. You've got 2 exposed purple wires. Turn the flash off now. You've got 2 exposed purple wires and this clip. This clip will plug in up in the dash. Now, you can take off the side panel here very easily with, again, a non-marring plastic pry bar here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips in total. There you go. But far more useful would be taking off this piece here, and that is the headlight and dome light control unit. Just be careful taking it off. There's a tab where I started was over here. There's a tab here using another non-marring pry bar. Once you get that pulled, leave the pry bar in, come over to the other side with your hands and just pop it back. It's a little bit of a violent thing, especially if you're your new $80,000 road yacht only has 500 miles on it like mine does. But it does come off just fine. The plastic was new, no issues there. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get this plugged in. We're going to use the 2 included Positap connectors. Get those done up there. And then once those are connected, it's a purple and black wire and then a purple wire. So just purple and black to purple and black, purple to purple. Once those are done, I'll go ahead and walk you through the plug-in here. Okay, we've got the connectors there connecting the 2 wires. Looking in here, you can see the plug type is the exact same as the plug type here. And according to the instructions, just pick any one of these to go into. Let's just pick the easiest one, the lowest one. That should now do it. You just make sure you're in there. And then the next, I suppose, last thing to do, which is incredible that it's so much simpler to wire up than the Chevy I had done, is to simply plug this in to the OBD2 port like that. And I'll probably get the splitter so this doesn't take up my port, but that should now theoretically mean that my steps are installed. I think I'm going to close this port back up, this cover there, but leave this one out just in case I need to troubleshoot. My experience with these steps on the install is that I'll definitely need to troubleshoot. Hopefully I'll put the fuse in and doors will be closed and these steps will go up and that'll be it. So let's see what happens. Alright guys, I am sort of finished for the day. Got most of the way through it. I have to do the light still, and I do have an issue with it hitting the pinch wheel pretty much everywhere. I was able to basically take the end caps off, this end cap only on the other side of both end caps, and shave them down. And I'm going to put some plastic restorer or maybe like a matte finish on the corner where I shaved it, just with like an X-Acto knife. I don't really want to touch the frame or the pinch weld, but as you can see, it comes down like it's meant to. You can see it comes down like it's meant to there. If I close this up, you'll see it maybe just touch a smidge there. And you can kind of hear it just a smidge, but that side is hardly anything compared to this one. If we come over here, I'm sure you can hear that. One thing I wanted to show you guys where it's hitting the pinch weld on the board and not just on the end cap. And it's this weird shape here. It's because it's farther inboard. The running board doesn't have the clearance here, so I got to do something with this. If that means, you know, cutting this back here and then just kind of cold bending this up this way, that seems a little janky to me. I'm a little remiss to do that on a truck this expensive. I'd much rather see if I can play around with these bolts again tomorrow, but I've been working on this for maybe 10 hours already, spending way too long screwing around with this stupid pinch weld, which is absolutely absurd. How hard would it be to, you know, make this linkage a little bit longer, or this board even, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch narrower. No one would notice, and it would just be so much easier to align and use and set up. Anyway, this is an example of where I was shaving down. I'm going to put some plastic restore on this guy, sort of get rid of the dust, and then maybe hit it with some you know, black touch-up paint there, but we shouldn't be able to see that once I'm finished with it. But really the biggest sort of culprit is right here at the moment, and I'm not quite sure how I want to handle that. And then tomorrow I'm going to be out doing the lights, so I'll see you guys in the morning. Alright guys, let's get started on these lights. One thing I didn't point out, a couple things. The lights that come with the kit from Amazon, they have this long cord and a plug on the end. We don't need that. We're going to wait till we know how long we need the cord to be, cut it, and then connect it using the butt clips that came with the kit. And then we're going to also use these grommets that came with the lighting kit to fill our hole with and run the wire through. Rubber grommets that'll protect the wire from any kind of metal edges in there. Now, the first thing that we've got to do is drill, well, I guess find out where you want this to be. My steps for my truck are 79 inches long. So 79, the light strip is 60, so that's 19 inches different. I wanted mine lighting to be in the middle of the step, so I've got 9.5 inches on either side of the strip, which is how I found this hole where the green tape is. So first thing, we got to drill into this thing, and it is a little bit overwhelming taking this guy to the truck, but what I'm going to do, you're supposed to drill a hole that's 9/30 seconds. I'm going to do 7/30 seconds and see if that works. And start with a very small 1/16 pilot hole, just because I feel safer doing that. Alright, we're through the pinch weld. Here's the hole that we've just drilled. Pinch weld is behind there. I got to get in here with a file and clean up the shavings on the other side. But looking at it here, that is a very clean hole. I'm happy with that. Alright guys, got the grommet in. You can see that there. I went ahead and put that in from the back side and used our very small 1/16 drill bit there, and you know, got under and just kind of poked it through from the back, so I didn't risk hitting the paint. Now it looks quite clean. If you live somewhere that's, you know, prone to rust, you might want to fill that with you know, some rust resistant paint or some touch-up paint. I think that's going to be fine for me. It doesn't rain too often here. We never get salt on the roads, and that's a pretty darn good seal in there anyway. So I'm going to maybe hit that with a bead of caulking when we're done, which we'll do to the light as well. We'll stick this up here in a second after we wire this together. Well, we'll probably stick it up first, but then run a bead of caulking down either side of this tape just to seal it all off on the edge so dirt doesn't get in from the edge and make the tape degrade over time. And then run this cable through, figure out how much we need, cut it to size, and then wire it up. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and cut this sort of giant plug end off of this, feed this through, and then get it hung up. Alright guys, that is the light strip attached. I will seal it, just run a bead of caulking down this side and the where is it at? There it is. The inside here of both of these edges all the way down, and especially on this edge face and the front face, more so on the front face. We'll be using whatever I ran over. We'll be using the two connectors here that came with the lighting kit. They're just crimp down connectors with a heat shrink. Remember, if you have it, get it. If you have it, use it. If you don't have it, get it. Some dielectric grease. It will prevent corrosion and just really enhance the connection. And once we have that all connected and heat shrunk down, I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like with the lights working. Alright guys, it is now evening, and I thought I'd take you out for a couple of night shots. Check this out. We've got the light strip mounted to the bottom just in front of the pinch weld, and it really lights up the step nicely there. Come back out for a shot in front. I mean, this is just so much better than the factory, or the lights that come with the steps. 20 bucks on Amazon, in my opinion, way worth it. You only need to run one light. You only need to drill, one hole on each side. One light, the factory, you have to, if you use the factory lights, you got to drill 2 holes. Just not even close, in my opinion, in terms of what you get for these versus what the factory is. With this truck, the steps are tracked behind the lights, so if you have the lights in the step to put on the other side of the truck, this light stays on. The step doesn't cover up the light strip the way I've installed it, so you get illumination all the way down along both sides of the truck. It's just so nice at night. In my opinion, huge upgrade. If you have questions on how I did it, what the light strip was like, it's really straightforward. You just cut the wire that comes with the strip from Amazon and connect the red to red and the black to black, and that's pretty much it, guys. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and stay tuned for more as always.